We're going to talk about auto accidents and personal injury, but from the medical standpoint this time. And Dr. Williams, if you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Dr. Frederick Williams of Keno Chiropractic, Marketing Director for 1844 FL Spine. We have clinics throughout the Tampa Bay area. And so we see a lot of folks that's been in car accidents, and also young athletes, professional athletes, or anyone that's having pain and discomfort, we can help.
Now, Dr. Williams, we're extremely live on both Facebook pages, mine and also his. So for everybody that doesn't know me on his, I'm Attorney Edward Reyes. I'm a personal injury attorney here in Tampa, Florida. And I've been doing this for quite some time. In fact, I owned a clinic for 13 years, so should be a good conversation because we're very like-minded and it comes in that respect. So Dr. Williams, tell me a little bit more about what happens when somebody actually gets in a car accident and they come to you. So kind of walk me through that process.
Sure. So first thing you want to know is you get inundated with personal injury commercials, jingles, papers, magazines. It's everywhere, right? So how do you sift through all this information that's come almost like spam? Even through Facebook, there's a lot of stuff. So first thing, when you have an accident, you want to make sure everyone's safe, right? Don't put yourself in danger. If you're on the highway, don't jump out of your car and looking around, especially if it's at nighttime. So first, make sure you're safe, then check on your passengers if there's passengers. That's number one. Two, alert the authorities so you can have a record of the transaction.
Yeah, and before we get to going on, it's highly important on both sides. On the legal side too, is to make record of it because you know what, that person that may have caused the accident may have hit you. Their stories may change later on. In fact, they do change many times. They say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, it was my fault, this and that, and here's my information." You drive away, and then later on they're like, "No, the other guy pulled out," or whatever the case is. And now we have to do a lot of research, if we can, to prove that that person really was at fault and not the other way around. So it's highly important to make a record of and bring the police. I know it's a hassle, but it'll save you tons of time later on. So I'm sorry.
No, that's a good insight, especially from the legal perspective. I actually just had a call 2 days ago. A young family were involved in a car accident. The father was from out of state, didn't really understand the whole process, and the lady was at fault to hit them, and he just let them go. Car full of passengers, and they called me like, "Hey, what can we do at this point?" I was like, "Well, unless you have a photographic memory and know the license plates, there's not much you can do." So always record the information. It's good to check on the other person, make sure they're okay. That's goodwill. But as far as taking care of business, always make sure you document it properly. So when you do need to file a claim, you have that information.
Now, so you get in a car accident. A lot of times people call the attorney first, just because it's just attorneys advertise more than the clinics do, unless you're like one of the famous jingles. and then a lot of times they say, do you have a place that you can refer to? And as an attorney, the choice is always the client's choice, right? They can always make the choice, and we always ask, do you have a place that you would like to go to? And if they say, I have no place, can you please recommend somewhere? We can give them a list of options of where they can go to, and many times by their house or by their work, and we can go from there. So then at that point, whether we help and aid, or that they have they find their own facility, they go into many times a chiropractic office. And if you can just kind of walk us through what happens when someone actually comes into your office.
Okay. I like what you said. If you don't mind, I'm like to piggyback off of that. When you say after accident, someone will call you directly, which is fantastic. If you need a lawyer, call a lawyer. If you need a doctor, call the doctor.
Of course.
So with these commercials where people are calling these 800 numbers, they're not speaking to a doctor. They're not speaking to an attorney. They're speaking to or telemarketers that are pushing these people into clinics and attorneys that are probably not the best interest for their case. And also these attorneys, guess what? They have them to pay a substantial amount of money to be a part of this network. So just do your research before you make such a big decision. So after they come in, when they come into our office, we do an initial exam. We check them from head to toe, see what's going on, see if they had any radiology done. Maybe they went to the ER, maybe they went to urgent care. If not, we can definitely order those radiology studies. We do an examination. We do any therapies that may be required.
Now, the examination, what does the examination consist of? Because many people come with different injuries, clearly, right?
Absolutely.
So when you say exam, if I have a neck pain, would you do the same exam if I had my left foot hurt? I mean, just walk me through that process a little bit more.
Absolutely. So
because I know the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they don't know the process.
So when you come in, we give you an intake pack, and you kind of check off the areas that are bothering you, headaches, neck pain, back pain, nausea, numbness and tingling anywhere in the body. So we have a general idea of what we're going to. So we examine every area of the body, but then we'll focus on the key areas or chief complaints. What is the biggest thing? What is the biggest concern? And we do a focused examination on that, but we do a full scan of the whole body.
Okay, now you mentioned something about tingling, because we get that quite a bit, and tingling going down your hands, a lot of times coming from neck pain.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? And I know you brought a model here as well, and we could probably talk about that.
Sure.
Why do people have tingling after an auto accident down their hands? I mean, beside the obvious of the wrist getting bent back from the collision, from the force, the impact. So tell me, why do people actually have pain down their extremities and the rest of the body, for that matter?
That's a really good question. I'm glad you asked that. A lot of times when you have an accident, the main causation of pain or injury is a whiplash, which is the head accelerating forward and back in a rapid motion, which will sometimes damage the disc or the soft tissue in between the hard bone. So you have disc, hard bone, disc. And the disc are the shock absorbers of the body. So when you have that extreme impact, a lot of times the disc are the places that suffer, and they can either bulge out, which is disc bulge, very common, or disc herniation. Which is better, which is worse? That's a good question, because
because that comes up a lot. Like bulging disc doesn't really add value on our side.
Sure.
Bulging disc is, you can get that from picking up your trash, right? And not that you can't get other injuries by picking up your trash. Depends on how heavy your trash is, I guess. But the value of the case, you might feel pain, and we're going to discuss that here in a minute, what soft tissue injuries and things like that is. But it's not substantial, and it doesn't have that much value on an insurance standpoint from value. So talk to me. What's the difference between the two? Because that's the two most common that come up.
Very common. We go to your radiology report and doing a report of findings. So what I use for example is a jelly donut. Everyone knows what a jelly donut is. So you take a jelly donut and you squeeze it a little bit of the jelly squirts out.
Okay.
Right, but it's still within the donut. But you can see the jelly, sort of like on this model here. I don't know if you guys can see that here in the back there where it's red. That would represent the disc bulge herniation sort of injury there.
Yep.
In the yellow part here, coming out of the back of the spine or the spinal nerves, and it's going to be going to your heart, to your lungs, or your kidneys. So think about if you have a nerve going to one of your vital organs being compressed, so instead of working at 100%, now it's at 80%, 7%.
Okay.
So you're going to have dysfunction of whatever the main organ is. But more also, what you're experiencing right away is the pain, because when the nerves are interfered with, it's going to cause pain, perhaps numbness and tingling down the pathway of that nerve, and that's what a lot of times people are experiencing.
Okay, so it depends on, I guess, because you said the whiplash, sometimes it could be T-bone, depends on which whipping action will happen. Could be, almost like where the impingement may happen with their disc, right?
Right. And, it's going to vary too on the person, men versus women, children versus adults. Someone like myself that has more girth, bigger muscles, bigger neck, you can sustain more force as opposed to a young child with not much musculature. Their head's going to kind of just flop around. So we tend to see kids injured more than adults, women more than men.
Now, why do people feel pain? Why do people feel pain whenever but yet it's nothing too substantial, but they feel ongoing pain? I think it's soft tissue damage.
Soft tissue, yeah.
Tell me what exactly is that about?
Right. So when these soft tissue, the ligaments, the joints, when these things are injured, the threshold of pain is kind of always constant. It's not a herniation, which means the disc material squirted out, and then sometimes can squirt out so much that it goes up and down the spinal canal, which is even worse. So
what is that called?
Sequestering.
Okay.
Sequestering, right?
Yep.
So it's just flowing through the spinal canal. Any nerve in the body doesn't like to be touched. The spine, when it comes to the bottom and it splits into two, that goes down the back of your leg, it's known as sciatic nerve, which is the largest nerve in the body. Very, very common. Most of you guys heard of the sciatic nerve.
Yeah, that's when the pain goes down your leg, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yep.
And so this is the largest nerve in the body, and when it gets touched either by muscles, whatever the case may be, it's going to cause that pain coming down the leg. Sometimes travels to the toes as well, depending on the severity and the chronicity or how long the injury's been there.
So what I think I hear him saying, and this is something that we ask as when we sign up a new client as well, because a lot of people, they say the same thing, neck and back. That's the thing. That's like the common thing. But we always ask these diagnostic type questions, meaning, Do you have pain going down your fingers? Do you have pain going down your legs?
Correct.
Do you have problems chewing? Because now we can get into TMJ problems.
Right.
Do you got migraine? Sorry, you gotta think that in football, people get concussions. Because I'll keep cutting off here real quick. Okay, so you gotta think like a football player. These guys are only, let's say they're 350 pounds or whatever the case might be, right? A car's not 350 pounds. A car's thousands of pounds.
A lot more, right?
So, and yet you might get a linebacker that's 350 hitting you at, maybe max speed 11 miles an hour, and that's if they're fast and they're hitting you.
Right.
And these people, the football players, get concussions.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
But now we're talking about a car that weighs 3,500 pounds hitting you at whatever the speed is. There's a lot of transfer, and then you get concussions that way as well. So,
absolutely.
I'm sure you've seen that.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's a good point you make. Talking about the inertia with the force and the trauma traveling, that force has to travel somewhere, and it's going to end in the person, whoever's driving, or the passengers. So we see those football players, professional football players that have been playing sports for many, many years, and they come in with an array of symptoms, but most often, they have what these concussions because they're doing this every day, and they have the symptoms. You look at them, and they have their temper, all this, they can't sleep, they have headaches, and they're up and down, right?
So that's why it's important to not just diagnose, yes, my back hurts, but what's behind that? Are you also getting the headaches? Are you also getting the migraines? Do you have a concussion? Is there something going on with the brain? Because what you feel now, you may not be as big now, and then later in life, let's say a couple years down the line, you're like, wow, I don't know why I'm feeling this, and it's because of the accident.
Correct.
And I'm sure you've been in business for a long time, so
Absolutely.
So you've seen that too.
And that's a good point there, because when we do an examination, we're doing a thorough examination, not just where the pain is, right? Because there's going to be injuries that are covert and some that are over. So meaning there's some things that may be hurt that you're not aware of until we go poking around, pulling different places, and you say, oh, ouch, that hurts. So guess what? We document that so you have a track record, right? Lord forbid if you have another accident in the future, we say, all right, cool, you already had this injury, right?
Of course.
So
yes.
when we refer back, and that's a huge part about the radiology, because we take a snapshot of where you are, and so if that happens again, we can say, okay, this has progressed, or this is chronic, or this is acute.
Yes.
Right?
Okay. Now, you're a chiropractic doctor, and there's chiropractor, there's medical doctors, there's massage therapists, and some people don't, they know the difference between a medical doctor and a chiro. Well, no, they know the difference between a medical doctor, but a lot of people are a little bit, and I would say a little bit ignorant, I guess.
No.
A lot of people, they think the chiros are almost like therapists sometimes,
Sure.
and I'm not saying, I'm just saying
These
what
are common, yeah.
it's until they get to know what a chiropractic doctor actually does. So what do you actually do in your profession? Like, why are you a chiropractor? Like, what do you do for these people when they come in?
So that's another good point. Very common. So this is probably on a lot of folks' mind. How is a chiropractic doctor different from a medical doctor or a doctor of osteopathy, right? So these are all different types of physicians, right? So essentially chiropractic, what we do, we focus on the neural system via the spine, because as you can see here with this model, the vertebral bones at each level, there's nerves coming out. So we affect the nervous system via the spine. With medical doctors, they diagnose, they treat via medications or surgical interventions. So they give you something from the outside to try to correct something on the inside. As with chiropractic, we're going for the inside to treat the inside.
Yeah, so if you have pain going down your spine, your nerves, your job is essentially to treat that and to align the spine together to take the pressure off the nerves.
Right.
Whereas a medical doctor, which is nothing wrong with medical doctors at all, because when you have pain, you have pain.
Right.
Right?
They're needed.
But it masks the pain for the time being, and then the body starts healing itself sometimes, with natural abilities. But
right.
So
I kind of give folks this example. If you have a water hose and you spray your garden, then you come and step on the water hose, what happens to the water?
The water stops and builds pressure.
It stops, it builds up pressure. And what happens to those plants over time without getting water?
Oh, clearly they die. I mean, of course, definitely.
So exactly the same thing happens. So that nerve function isn't going down to, say, the kidney. So guess what? The kidney goes from 100%, 80, 70, we start getting all these symptoms. But what we do in America, we'll take a pill from the outside and try to fix this internal problem, or we meditate, or we work out, we eat salads, right? All those things are great, right? But it's never going to address and fix the internal problem, right?
Yeah, so it's like part of the puzzle, right? I mean, because, you know, if you have immediate pain right then, chiropractic does take a little bit longer, depends on the injury. So everybody has to come together as a puzzle. And not that I'm part of the healthcare puzzle per se, but what I do is, you know, I facilitate and then I try to make that client whole again.
Right.
And because at the end of the day, I mean, the insurance companies, you know, they do what they're going to do, and they're in the business collecting premiums and adjusting claims out, meaning adjusting, like paying out less as possible.
Correct.
That's the if not, they wouldn't be in business, right?
Right.
So yeah, so what we do is we facilitate and we work with all these providers, and we get the information, and then, you know, it's like the chess maker, you know, or the is trying to make sure that the patient is well taken care of, and at the same time they're not being taken advantage of. So I'm sorry, you were
that's good. I mean, you kind of alluded to what I was going to touch on was when you have an accident, we're like the baseball team. You have a pitcher, you have a catcher, and we all kind of work together. When you're injured, we're like a baseball team. You have a catcher, pitcher. Now, I guess we can have a very good pitcher, but if you can't have someone to catch that fastball, he's not going to be very good. So we're all working as a team for you, right? To get you better. You got someone to help you, make sure your property damage is taken care of.
Yes.
Make sure they're going up to bat for you against the insurance company. Let me tell you guys a secret. State Farm, you know, you're in good hands with Allstate and Flo and the Lizard.
Yeah.
They look really cute on TV, but guess what?
They play hard ball though.
They play hard
ball. They look like they're your friends,
right. But let me tell you.
Yeah.
If you have anybody that's been in an accident, let me tell you, they're not your friends. You're not in good hands, right? Because as soon as you have an accident, guess what? They turn into the devil, right? And now you feel like you're a victim, but guess what? You're using your right because you've been paying these premiums,
of course,
every month, going to their bottom line. So when you need them, they make you feel some sort of way. But guess what? That's your right to do that. You have a right to collect a settlement, right? If you follow everything that we ask you to do, you'll feel better. You'll get your injury covered. They'll pay for your car damage. A lot of times you get a rental car, and at the end of all this, for your pain and suffer and all the hassle, guess what? You'll get a settlement as well at the end of it.
Yeah, and we're not trying to bag on the insurance companies, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's a business model, and they're in the business to collect premiums. That's the business model. I mean, so not that they're evil per se, but they work hard to not pay the bills,
right.
And you know, and I can't speak for every adjuster, but definitely there's the few that play a little bit harder. And that's why we go after these insurance companies for, you know, if you can recover, for that matter.
Absolutely.
So how long does a treatment on average take, if you can?
Yeah, that's good. You know, my answer, this is always our patients, when they come in, I give them an overview of how the case unfolds. Typically, we'll see someone 15, 25 visits over the course of treatment. Now, some people more, some people less. Sure. Because why? Everybody heals differently, right? Some people will need more treatment. They may need more specialists to see. Yes. They may need more studies, radiology, right? If someone comes in and we find findings on the x-rays like spondylolisthesis, retro-antral, right? Which means when you bend forward or backwards, instead of the vertebrae staying together, guess what? They're slipping on top of each other, right? Forward and back, which isn't good. So that tells us what? The ligaments on the front of the spine and on the back of the spine have now been compromised.
Sure.
Now, if they are compromised or they stretch more than the width of a quarter, which isn't very much, now they have what's known as a whole person impairment rating of 25%. To you, 25%, what does that mean?
Well, 25% is pretty significant. I mean, a small little change in your body like that could really affect your daily activities. I mean, just going back to the lifting up the trash can idea, you might not be able to lift up the trash can depending on where you're injured at. I mean, so it's significant.
Like, it will be equivalent to if you lost your arm or lost your leg. That's how important the spine and the brain connection is. So oftentimes we don't think about the spine until we have pain. So I always ask folks to say, listen, did you brush your teeth today? Yes.
Of course,
did you brush them yesterday? Yes. Are you going to brush them tomorrow? Usually yes, I hope. Right?
Hopefully, yeah.
And why do you brush your teeth? Oh, you know, that's what we're told to do. Yeah, absolutely, I agree with you 100%. But it's to prevent what? Dental
decay, yeah.
Decay, right?
Yep.
So imagine you never brush your teeth and you walk into the dentist's office. How will your teeth look?
Well, yeah, of course. And I think on that subject, I think the big difference is that now they have to go somewhere. They have to actually do something. And it makes it that much more difficult. But I mean, it's necessary.
Oh, absolutely. So and if you've never been to a chiropractic, we welcome you. We'll teach you about chiropractic, how the body heals and how it heals from the inside out, and we'll teach you more about your health and your body than you ever know. And in turn, people go out and they tell other people,
of course,
my aunt has diabetes, or they're taking this medication, because guess what? We get great results when we're with interference, and people heal up and they get better. So it's like they want to share this with the world, and we're happy about that.
Okay. Well, if you guys have any questions, actually, before do you have anything that you want to add or no?
So I just want to leave you guys with this. The reason we're doing this on the evening, we could be at homes with our families eating dinners, but the reason that we're doing this, why? Because we're advocates for you when you get into a car accident, because your life gets flipped, turned upside down.
It does.
You don't know which way to go, left or right. Sometimes we may not be able to help you, but a lot of times we will. If we can't help you, guess what? We can refer you to someone who can help you, right? So we're just a resource for you. It doesn't have to be a car accident, right? Slip and fall, whatever the case, whatever legal matter. If he can't help you, guess what? He'll probably know someone that can.
Yeah, in fact, many times, I mean, I get calls and people just ask me random questions all the time. I mean, it has nothing to do with car accidents most of the time or whatever. Because the two things I do is personal injury and real estate.
Right.
But you know what? I'll help them as much as I can, or I'll recommend somebody that can help them.
Absolutely.
And with him, for example, when there's a case, sometimes there's insurance, sometimes not insurance. We'll still look out for you. I mean, you're not going to get a bill. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that you're taken care of, and because it's all about keeping our community and our society happy. And if they like us, and then you're going to refer to us. So I mean, it's not making a home run on the first client, because that's just bad business. Is doing a little bit good for everybody, and then as our community will keep growing. So
absolutely.
And that's why we keep doing these videos. I mean, it's education, it's resources. I know myself, if you guys have any questions, send a message to me or to him, and I'll give you, for everybody that's on his, I'll put my number, and then you can do the same.
We'll share both videos, so both parties. I know there's a lot of mutual friends, but for those that are the outliers, you guys can both see this and share this. And we encourage everyone, share this on your Facebook page, on your social media. Guess what? There's probably somebody that you know that we can help, because you can be the answer to someone's prayer. Right?
Well, today I did a video on dog bites, and without noticing, and 2 or 3 people commented on dog bites. I didn't, the question that you may have, ask the question, because if you're thinking of it, somebody else is thinking about the same question. I can promise you that.
Absolutely.
So send us a message below if you want to connect. He's tagged in mine, and I'm tagged in his, and feel free to send us a friend request and ask us any questions, and we're here for you. Again, if you need us, we're here.
Right.
Thanks.